Welcome to ValueVest Daily, where we deep dive into the best value and momentum investment opportunities. Today, we are taking a hard look at a company that's basically become synonymous with Bitcoin itself, Strategy Incorporated, ticker MSTR. Now, under the leadership of the famous Michael Saylor, this company has made one of the boldest corporate bets in modern history. The big question is it a stroke of absolute genius or just a massive, massive gamble? Let's dive in and break it all down. So here's what we've got on top today. First, we'll explore how a regular software company completely reinvented itself into a Bitcoin treasury. Then, we're going to decode their core strategy, what they call the sats per share engine. After that, it's all about the financials, the charts, and finally, we'll weigh the huge potential against the very real risks to see if this is, in fact, the ultimate Bitcoin play. All right, let's kick things off with this incredible transformation. It really wasn't that long ago that Strategy Inc. was just another business intelligence software company. A solid business, but nothing spectacular. But then, back in 2020, Michael Saylor made a decision that changed everything. The company was going to become the world's first and largest Bitcoin Treasury Company. So what makes them so special? What's their moat? Well, their core advantage, their entire reason for being now, is to act as a leveraged bet on Bitcoin. The best way to think about it is like a Bitcoin spot ETF, but on steroids. It's designed to give investors amplified exposure to Bitcoin's price movements, all without the management fees you'd get in a typical fund. And when we talk about their bet, the sheer scale is just mind-boggling. As of mid-November 2025, the company is holding nearly 650,000 Bitcoin in its treasury. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that is over 3% of the total 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist, all held by one single public company. It's absolutely wild. So you might be wondering, how on earth does a company build up such a colossal Bitcoin stack? Well, that brings us to their core mechanism. This isn't about selling software anymore. It's about a relentless, single-minded engine designed to grow one metric and one metric only. And that single metric is Bitcoin per share, or as it's often called in the crypto world, sats per share. A sat, or a satoshi, is just the smallest fraction of a Bitcoin. The company's entire mission, their North Star, is to make every single share of their stock represent a bigger and bigger piece of Bitcoin over time. It's that simple and that powerful. So how do they do it? It's this beautiful three-step flywheel. Step 1, they raise a ton of capital, whether it's through selling stock, taking on debt, or issuing preferred shares. Step 2, they take every penny of that capital and use it to buy more Bitcoin. And the result, step 3, is that the amount of Bitcoin backing each and every share just keeps on growing. Now, this is where things get really clever. They have this all-weather funding strategy. See, when their stock price is down, selling new common stock would dilute existing shareholders. And that's a big no-no. So instead, they get creative. They issue these different classes of preferred shares, like the ones you see here, to bring in cash. It's a savvy way to keep that accumulation flywheel spinning, no matter what the market is doing. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Section 3 is all about the numbers. What do the financials actually look like for a company that's essentially become a giant bet on a digital asset? Well, as of mid-November 2025, Strategy Inc. is sitting at a market cap of around $60 billion. That puts it firmly in large cap territory, and its valuation is driven almost entirely by that massive pile of Bitcoin it's sitting on. Now, trying to apply traditional metrics here, it gets a little weird. You kind of have to throw the old playbook out the window. Things like the PE ratio, totally meaningless, because the company's earnings are just the price of Bitcoin going up or down. Free cash flow, it's negative, but that's by design. They're using all their cash to buy more Bitcoin. But look at the return on equity. It's a very healthy 25 to 30%, thanks to Bitcoin's performance. And that old software business, it just chugs along, providing a stable, if flat, foundation. The debt-to-equity ratio is another fascinating one. It's a real choose-your-own-adventure metric. If you only count their convertible debt, their leverage looks incredibly low, super responsible. But if you treat those preferred shares we talked about as a form of debt, which many analysts do, then suddenly their leverage looks quite high. It really just depends on your accounting philosophy. And for those of you keeping score at home, you'll want to mark your calendars. The next big update on their Bitcoin buys and overall financial health is expected in early February 2026, when they drop their full-year results for 2025. All right, time to shift gears from the fundamentals over to the technicals. In Section 4, we're going to look at the charts, see who actually owns this stock, and check out what the analysts are predicting for its future. So, looking at the chart right now, the stock's in a bit of a rough patch. It's in a sharp correction, trading below all its key moving averages, which is usually a bearish sign. It seems to be finding some support, a potential floor around that $190 to $195 level. The next big hurdle, or resistance, is up around 220. The RSI down at the bottom, though, is hinting that the selling might be a little overdone, so a bounce could be on the horizon. So who's buying this story? Well, as you can see, the big money is in. Institutions own about 60% of the shares. And we're talking about the giants here. Vanguard and BlackRock have been adding to their positions. At the same time, insiders, led by Saylor, still hold a ton of voting power through their Class B shares, so they're firmly in control. Now, despite that recent dip in the stock price, Wall Street analysts are overwhelmingly bullish. The average one-year price target is more than double where the stock is trading today. And if you look out further, some of these forecasts are just massive, predicting the stock could rocket past $1,000 a share within 5 years. Of course, all of this is tied directly to what happens with the price of Bitcoin. Let's make that real for a second. Let's say you invested $10,000 today. If the stock just hits the middle of that 5-year target range, let's call it $1,300 a share, your 10 grand could generate a profit of around $75,000. It really shows you the kind of explosive upside the analysts are seeing here. And all of this brings us to our final section and the ultimate question. After looking at the strategy, the numbers, the charts, is Strategy Inc. truly the ultimate Bitcoin bet? It's time to weigh the incredible potential against the serious peril. Look, this investment is a classic two-sided coin. On the one hand, you've got massive potential catalysts. Think about pro-Bitcoin policies from governments or continued floods of money into those new Bitcoin ETFs. But on the other hand, the risks are just as big. The stock's fate is completely chained to Bitcoin's price, and the company's high leverage strategy means you have to be prepared for extreme volatility and potential dilution. In the end, the entire investment thesis really just boils down to this one powerful quote from Saylor himself. If you believe, as he does, that Bitcoin is digital property, the apex property of the human race, then Strategy Inc.'s all-in bet doesn't just make sense, it seems almost inevitable. And as always, we have to give you the quick reminder, this content is for informational purposes only. It is absolutely not financial advice. An investment like MSTR is highly speculative and carries a ton of risk, so please do your own research before making any decisions. If you found this deep dive helpful, do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button, and give this a like. It really helps us keep bringing you unbiased looks at daily opportunities before you put your hard-earned money to work. Hey, one more thing. We want to know what you want to see next. Please put a comment down below if you want us to deep dive into any specific ticker symbol. We read every single one. Thanks for watching.